the last part of the standard, which says conduct of an audit in accordance with the standards on auditing. Yes, conduct of an audit in accordance with the standards on auditing. Okay. Now, conduct of an audit in accordance with the standards on auditing. So it is SA 200, which says that auditor comply with all essays relevant to the audit. Comply with all essays which are relevant to the audit. So now there are 37 standards. Should I always comply with all the 37 standards for all the audit? It says yes, unless an essay is not relevant. Like 299. What is 299? Joint auditor. Is that going to be relevant when I'm doing a sole audit, single auditor? The standard is not relevant only. Only when there are joint auditors that standard is relevant. Or the requirement is conditional and the condition does not exist. Only if you're using the work of a service organization, you need to follow 402. Otherwise, there is no need to follow 402. Only first time when you're doing the audit, you need to follow 510. Otherwise, no need to follow 510. Initial audit engagements, opening balances. So comply with all essays relevant to the audit unless an essay is not relevant or the requirement is conditional and the condition does not exist. Second, to comply with the standard, you need to understand the text of the standard. तो हर एक जैसे कंपनीज एक्ट का बेयर एक्ट होता है ना, वैसे ये स्टैंडर्ड्स का भी बेयर एक्ट होता है, बेयर स्टैंडर्ड होता है. You have 30-40 pages का standard. So obviously it says to comply with these standards, first you need to understand the text of the essay. Then it says don't present compliance in your audit report unless and until you have actually complied with the standards. मैंने अभी आपको थोड़ी देर पहले बताया था ना, हम लोग ऑडिट रिपोर्ट में एक सेंटेंस लिखते हैं, वी हैव कंडक्टेड आवर ऑडिट इन अकॉर्डेंस विद दी स्टैंडर्ड्स. सो इट सेज डोंट राइट दिस सेंटेंस इन योर रिपोर्ट अनलेस एंड अंटिल यू हैव एक्चुअली कंप्लाइड विद द स्टैंडर्ड. नहीं तो अपना कॉपी पेस्ट. लास्ट ईयर के रिपोर्ट में था वैसे के वैसे, सिर्फ 16 को ऐसे कट मार के उधर 6 का 7 कर देते हैं, हो गया अगले साल का रिपोर्ट रेडी. You understand now? So it says don't present compliance in your report unless and until you've actually complied with the standard. बोलते अरे यार आप बोल रहे हो स्टैंडर्ड से कंप्लाई करो, स्टैंडर्ड से कंप्लाई करो, हमको कैसे पता चलेगा कि हमारा स्टैंडर्ड फॉलो करके हुआ है कि नहीं? तो बोलते देखो हर एक स्टैंडर्ड का ना अपना एक ऑब्जेक्टिव होगा. अगर आपने वो स्टैंडर्ड का ऑब्जेक्टिव अचीव कर लिया मतलब आपका वो स्टैंडर्ड कंप्लाई करके हो गया. So there will be an objective of every standard. If you achieve that objective, that means you've complied with the standard. Second, you should have sufficient appropriate audit evidence. If anybody asks you, कि कैसे हमको पता चलेगा आपने 200 कंप्लाई किया है, तो एविडेंस होना चाहिए. एंड यू शुड ऑलवेज, है ना, अपन ब्लाइंड तो कुछ करते ही नहीं है ना अभी, तो यू हैव टू चेक कि एडिशनल प्रोसीजर्स आर रिक्वायर्ड टू बी परफॉर्म बियॉन्ड दोज गिवन इन द स्टैंडर्ड. कि बस स्टैंडर्ड में जितना बताया उतना हमने कर लिया, वो बोलते उतना तो करना ही है, बट यू बी अलर्ट कि इन द सर्कमस्टांसेस ऑफ द एंगेजमेंट आर एनी एडिशनल प्रोसीजर्स रिक्वायर्ड टू बी परफॉर्म्ड. This is what it talks about, conduct of an audit in accordance with the standards on auditing. है ना, comply with all standards unless an essay is not relevant or the requirement is conditional. To comply with the essay, you need to understand the text of the essay. Don't represent compliance in your report unless and until you've actually complied with the standards. To comply with the standard means what? Achieve the objective of that standard. You should have sufficient appropriate evidence and you also need to check whether any additional procedures are required to be performed beyond those which are given in the standard. Right, so one less now, 45. So now we have 44 to be studied. Yes, and you won't even realize, it's just a matter of 5-6 days and all these standards and ethics would be done. Okay, right, so coming to the next standard over there, SA 210, which is regarding agreeing the terms of audit engagement. Right, SA 210, which is regarding agreeing the terms of audit engagement. Right, so coming to the next standard, SA 210, agreeing the terms of audit engagement. Okay. Yes, agreeing the terms of audit engagement. Right, so you have the auditor, that is PwC, and you have the client. Right, you have the client and you have the auditor. Right, client appoints, the shareholders appoint the auditor at the AGM, and they send to the auditor an appointment letter. What will client send to the auditor? An appointment letter. And as an acceptance of the appointment, and putting across the terms and conditions of the engagement, the auditor will send to the client an engagement letter. So who sends the engagement letter? The auditor to the client, putting across the terms and conditions of the engagement. Like, you know, getting an audit done from an auditor, does it mean that no guarantee for detection of fraud and error? No guarantee for detection of fraud and error, no. So making the terms and conditions of the engagement clear, that is the main purpose of sending the engagement letter. So who sends the engagement letter? The auditor to the client. Okay. Now, when the auditor has to send this engagement letter to the client, first they talk about certain preconditions for an audit. Okay. Right. Now, I use 3 notations in the class. Okay, 3 notations which I use in the class. I'm just telling you about those. One, we use a notation called as R raised to 10. Okay, which means read, revise 10 times before the exam, a question not asked so far, which according to me could be asked in the exams. So R raised to 10. Second notation which we use, like some questions के बाजू में मैं आपको लिखने लगाती हूँ R raised to 10 लिखो, ATF लिखो. ATF मतलब क्या? All time favorite. कि ये एग्जाम में आके गया है प्लस आके फर्दर भी आ सकता है, ऑल टाइम फेवरेट. एंड सम आई मेक यू राइट R raised to 50. R raised to 50, रीड रिवाइज 50 times before the exam. मतलब big time possibility that this question could be asked. Now this is based on my own analysis. Okay, well, like it's just, I could say that the best way to put is it's a matter of coincidence. May 16 question number 1, all 4 questions were from R raised to 10 and ATF. And now, what you say, November 16, it may not happen so. I don't know, I'm just telling you. Okay, whatever, but at least, you know, because what I've been doing since I am teaching this subject since September 2009. So you have not seen the subject so much which I have seen the subject. I've seen so many suggested, so many RTP. I've been through so many editions of the book. I think I've started working on this book since the 10th or 11th edition. So now up to the 18th edition. So I've been with this subject for a matter of time. So I know what is asked, what is yet to be asked, what new I have added in the book, in module में नया add किया है, क्या questions आता है. So based on my own analysis, okay, I just tell you these markings. है ना? So R raised to 10. Sometimes under ATF we also put a top 10 कि ये बहुत सबसे ज़्यादा आता है. You know, all time favorite में भी जो top 10 है, so that time sometimes we use that also. Okay, why I told you this? Because now preconditions for an audit is R raised to 10. And मतलब लिखने के लिए नहीं है, मतलब R raised to 10. Literally finger पे गिन के आपको उसको 10 times read and revise करना है. मतलब ऐसा नहीं कि वो एक just एक style है या ऐसे लिखने के लिए एक number लिखना है, ऐसा नहीं है वो. 10 times means 10 times. 50 times means 50 times. मतलब 50 times करोगे तो रट्टा ही हो जाएगा ना. So rather than using the word ratta, I am saying R raised to 50. Well, it's a big possibility na, that the question could be asked in the exam. So that is why, and still, there are a few questions which I am still marking, but they are yet to come in the exam. Right, so now R raised to 10, preconditions, or which I could also call it as premise, or which I could also call it as the presumptions, assumptions on which an audit is conducted. Yes, preconditions for an audit. What do you mean by a precondition? What do you mean by a precondition? This is a condition before we do any work. Like compulsory. If you this engagement letter is sent by whom? By auditor to the client. And obviously in that engagement letter he is putting these preconditions. What he's saying, that is why putting it in the first document only now. He says these are my conditions. If you accept these, I'm coming, otherwise I'm not coming. So that is why we call them as the preconditions for an audit. Okay, so now you came to know, okay, the shareholders of Jio Limited have appointed you to do the audit. So you ask client, okay, client, what AFRF are you going to use in the preparation of financial statements? I hope you know AFRF now. Client, what AFRF are you going to use in the preparation of financial statements? So client is telling you, see, you don't know? Our holding company, Jio Limited holding company is in Germany. Germany mein holding company, Jio Limited, Indian subsidiary. Where is their holding company? In Germany. Now obviously German holding company will require Indian subsidiary company financial statements for consolidation. You get now what I say? German holding company will require Indian subsidiary company ka financial statements for consolidation. Line by line addition, they have to be in the same format. So that is why this Jio Limited Indian company has prepared its financial statements as per German GAAP. Why? Because to send it to the holding company for consolidation purpose. Now you remember, your teacher has told you 143.2, duty of company auditor to report on true and fair view. 129, financial statements will give true and fair if they are in compliance with accounting standards in Schedule 3. Now, you have been appointed as an auditor of the company under section 139, appointment of the company auditor. Under 143, your duty has been given to report on true and fair view. You're getting now? You've been appointed under 139, appointment of company auditor. 143, you have to report on true and fair view. 129 says true and fair if they are in compliance with accounting standard schedule 3. Now your client is telling me I have prepared financial statements as per German GAAP. For German GAAP financial statements under Indian Companies Act, how can I express an opinion saying true and fair? Shakyats nahi. You understand? Is it possible? Is it possible? German GAAP financial statements, true and fair, you will express an opinion? No, you're telling client, I am not coming only for your audit. Because in these preconditions, I have one giant, first main precondition. So main, I am using this word, there is no differentiation as such, but this is the maha precondition, the giant precondition. What is the main precondition? The acceptability of AFRF. बोलते AFRF एक्सेप्टेबल है तो आगे की बात करते हैं, अगर वो ही एक्सेप्टेबल नहीं है तो फिर आगे बात करके ही मतलब नहीं है ना. सी एएस फाउंडेशन के ऑफिस में कोई इंक्वायरी करने को आता है और वहां पे आके पूछता है कि यहाँ पे सीए का क्लास होता है क्या, तो हम लोग बोलते हैं हाँ बैठिए, सीपीटी, आईपीसीसी, फाइनल सब शेड्यूल बताते हैं, फिर आगे की बात होती है ना. एएस फाउंडेशन के ऑफिस में आके अगर कोई पूछे यहाँ पे डांस क्लास होता है क्या, नहीं होता है ना, तो खत्म बात. डू यू अंडरस्टैंड दैट? तो एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी ऑफ एएफआरएफ है ना, एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी ऑफ एएफआरएफ. तो क्लाइंट इज सेइंग अरे सीए, व्हाई यू गेटिंग सो अपसेट, नो प्रॉब्लम, फॉर यू वी विल प्रिपेयर वन मोर एएसएन शेड्यूल 3. सीए सेज yes, now I am coming for audit. Now this is AFRF is acceptable to me. So AFRF is acceptable, then what are the 5 other preconditions we'll say? But then client says, see, I have one complaint. The moment we said German GAAP, you said, no, how we'll do German GAAP audit? The moment we said AS Schedule 3, you're like, yes, we'll come for audit. But CA, please understand, we are not preparing German GAAP financial statements for time pass. टाइम पास के लिए बना रहे क्या? उनकी होल्डिंग कंपनी जर्मनी में है, होल्डिंग कंपनी से उनको स्टैंडिंग इंस्ट्रक्शंस आए कि जर्मन गैप के फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स बनवा के भेजिए और वो भी ऑडिट करके भेजिए, ऑडिट करके भेजिए बोलते हैं. तो सीए को बोलते हैं हमको मालूम नहीं, आप हमको जर्मन गैप के फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स का भी ऑडिट करके दीजिए. तो सीए सेज ओके, आई विल डू दिस जर्मन गैप असाइनमेंट ऑल्सो फॉर यू, बट दैट असाइनमेंट आई विल एक्सेप्ट इट अंडर SA 800. And this Indian GAAP assignment I'll accept under SA 210. Because an Indian company preparing financial statements as per German GAAP is a special purpose framework. See, every Indian company does not prepare financial statements as per German GAAP. But every Indian company will prepare financial statements as per accounting standard schedule 3. You understand? Every Indian company will not prepare financial statements as per German GAAP. So an Indian company preparing financial statements as per German GAAP is a special purpose framework. And special purpose framework, that assignment we accept under SA 800, right? In your books, come to page number 1.4. See the title of SA 800 over there. In your books, come to page number 1.4. Come to the title of SA 800 over there. You're all there? 800, title. Special considerations, audits of financial statements prepared in accordance with special purpose framework. Yes, now, May 16, question number 1C was 1D was on special purpose framework. You understand that? Special purpose framework. Now see, for accounting standard schedule 3, how will you express an opinion? Accounting, that's the AFRF. How will you express an opinion for accounting standard schedule 3? For accounting standard schedule 3, what phrase will you use for expressing an opinion? True and fair, no? For accounting standard schedule 3, what phrase you will use? True and fair. For German GAAP? Can you say true and fair? Can you say true and fair? No, true and fair has been reserved, na? Section 129, Accounting Standard Schedule 3. So what phrase will you use? Prepared. Okay, these financial statements have been prepared by the company in accordance with German GAAP. Are they true and fair? मालूम नहीं, पूछो मत. German GAAP के हिसाब से बनाया है क्या? Yes, बनाया है. Indian, whatever, Hong Kong GAAP, Australian GAAP, China GAAP, Japanese GAAP, prepared. Have they been prepared as per German GAAP? Yes, they have been prepared as per German GAAP. Do you understand that? Okay, right. So that's the Maha precondition, the main precondition, the acceptability of the AFRF. तो ही आगे का बात करने का. Only if the AFRF is acceptable. Do you understand that? The acceptability of the AFRF. And once the AFRF is acceptable, then we have 5 other preconditions. एक बार AFRF acceptable हो गया ना, then we have 5 other preconditions. What is it? 1. Whose responsibility to prepare financial statements now as per the AFRF? Management's responsibility. So preparation and presentation of financial statements in accordance with AFRF, whose responsibility? Management's responsibility. ऐसा थोड़ी है कि हमको ये शेड्यूल 3 चलेगा, आप बना लेना. नहीं, आपको चलेगा, आपको ही बनाना है, हमको ऑडिट करने के लिए देना है. Next one, design, implementation and maintenance of internal financial controls. अब ये Companies Act ने नया टर्म लाया ना, IFC, internal financial controls. है ना? Now, design, implementation and maintenance. आज तो अपने सब क्या basic concepts, terms ही clear हो रहे हैं. From tomorrow we'll start using these terms एकदम normally. Design, implementation and maintenance of control. What do you mean that? Design, implementation and maintenance of control. What does this mean? The best, yes? The best example to understand DIM, design, implementation, maintenance, is your timetable. Have you prepared a timetable? Yes, then that's design. Have you started studying as per the timetable? Yes, then that is implementation. Now say you had prepared the timetable for 4 months. So did you follow the timetable for the entire period for which you had prepared it? Generally never. Then there is no maintenance. In the company, is there a policy for purchases? Yes. Whether that policy has been implemented? Yes. Whether now purchases पूरा साल ना 1st April 2015 से 31st March 2016 पूरे साल वो purchase का policy follow हुआ क्या? Yes. Then there is maintenance. You understand? At AS Foundation, is there a policy? Yes, there is a policy design. Staff has been given instruction that you should check the receipts when the student enter into the classroom. So design is there. Then implementation. Have they started checking the receipts? Yes. Now say the batches of 13 days. So for all the 13 days, did they check your receipt? Yes. Then that's maintenance. Design, implementation, and maintenance of control. Without design, there can't be implementation. Without implementation, there is no question of maintenance. Pehle there has to be design. फिर design करने के बाद implementation और implementation के बाद maintenance. Whether a control exists, then whether it has been followed, and whether it has been followed throughout the period for which the financial statements have been prepared. You understand, no? Whether a policy exists, whether they've designed a policy. Right. So first, whether a policy exists, whether a control has been designed, then whatever has been designed, whether it has been implemented, whether they had started following that policy. Are they following that particular control or policy? And whether it has been followed throughout the period for which the financial statements have been prepared, say generally for 1 year, then we'll say there is maintenance. So design, implementation, and maintenance of internal controls in the organization. What is IFC? Internal financial controls. Whose responsibility? Management's responsibility. Next, to provide the auditor with all information of which the management is aware and which is relevant for the performance of the audit. So they can't say, see, आपने पूछा नहीं इसलिए हमने बताया नहीं. नहीं, आपको जो भी पता आपको लगता है ये ऑडिट के लिए relevant होगा, you should provide that information to the auditor. Auditor says ये सारे मेरे प्री कंडीशन है. और ये तो कंपनीज एक्ट में भी ड्यूटी राइट ऑफ कंपनी ऑडिटर में बताया ना, अनरिस्ट्रिक्टेड एक्सेस टू बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट. So to provide the auditor with all information. Then any additional information which could be required from management TCWG. ये कौन है TCWG? मतलब कौन? Those charged with governance. Means what? Means who? Who was responsible to monitoring? Well, only controls. That's one aspect. What's the difference between management and TCWG? Management is a part of TCWG. Okay, something more different? Bolo. So who's higher? TCWG. So TCWG could be defined as the highest level of management in an organization. Highest level of management. The main फर्क क्या है कि they do give the strategic direction to the entity. वो डिसाइड करते हैं कि ये करना है, वो करना है, ये प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च करना है, और ये मैनेजमेंट क्या करते हैं? एग्जीक्यूशन का काम करते हैं. अगर छोटा कंपनी है तो ऐसे कंपनी में मैनेजमेंट TCWG could be one and the same. पर जैसे जैसे कंपनी का हायरार्की बढ़ते जाता है वैसे TCWG, फिर उनके बाद मैनेजमेंट, फिर एम्प्लॉयज. You understand? The highest level of management in an organization would be TCWG. Highest level of management. Right? Below that there would be the management. जैसे आपने audit committee सुना है क्या? Audit committee होता है ना कंपनीज में, section 177 audit committee, corporate governance में भी requirement है. So that audit committee would be an example of TCWD. Those charged with governance. मतलब governance मतलब क्या? Power, control, direction. So they are charged with governance. Those charged with governance, TCWG. So any additional information which could be required from management, TCWG. And the last one, unrestricted access to persons within the entity. Unrestricted access. You can't say that you come for an audit, so you'll only talk to people in the accounts department. We will talk to production department also, marketing also, sales also, research also, all departments. So unrestricted access to persons within the entity. What are these? These are the preconditions, premise, assumptions, presumptions on which an audit is conducted. We have two. One main precondition, and then you have the 5 other precondition. मैंने ऐसे क्यों किया है? क्योंकि ये कंडीशन अगर एक्सेप्ट नहीं हुआ तो बाकी 5 तो क्वेश्चन ही नहीं आता. ये अंडरस्टैंड ना? टीवी अगर लगाया और तुषार कपूर का मूवी चल रहा है तो चैनल चेंज, आगे देखने का काम ही नहीं है. ओके, राइट. सो एक्सेप्टेबिलिटी, इफ एनीबडी has some different thought, then no problem, but ऐसे. Okay, acceptability of the AFRF. You know, the first check whether the AFRF is acceptable, and if that is acceptable, then 5 other preconditions. What are the other preconditions? Preparation and presentation of financial statements in accordance with AFRF management, your responsibility. Design, implementation and maintenance of internal financial control management, your responsibility. To provide the auditor with all information of which the management is aware, any additional information which could be required from management TCWG, and unrestricted access to persons within the entity. Right, what are these? These are the preconditions for an audit. Okay. Now, after the preconditions, next we come to the contents of the engagement letter. Next we come to the contents of the engagement letter, which have been mainly divided under 3. Yes, the principal contents of the engagement letter, the additional matters which could be put in the engagement letter, and when relevant additional matters which could be put in the engagement letter. Principal contents, additional matters, and when relevant additional matters. Yes, now we are discussing the contents of the engagement letter. Yes, contents of the engagement letter divided under 3. Principal contents, additional matters, when relevant additional matters. Now here I'll tell you one more thing about ICAI. Right. See, ICAI has 2 styles of asking questions. Okay, like I can give you a better example with IPCC question. In IPCC in chapter 1, you have a question called as relationship of auditing with other disciplines. If you remember, auditing and accounting, auditing and economics, auditing and production, auditing and mathematics, auditing and behavioral science, statistics and those. Okay, now what generally we prepare such questions as? Okay, you do the headings, auditing and accounting, auditing and law, auditing and economics, mathematics, and then what do you think? 8-mark question will come in the exam, 6-mark question will come. I know the headings, so I remember 7-8 headings. Baki potatoes I will write on my own. You understand now? You think 1 or 2 line, all heading I will do and I'll go in the exam. No, one exam, what they did question number 1. The subject of auditing is very closely linked with the discipline of behavioral science. Comment, 5 marks. You understand now? So what happens over there, ICAI has 2 styles of asking questions, wholesale and retail. You understand? Wholesale and retail. Now what you do wholesale, you do only all the headings and you go. अब 1 mark का 2-3 line लिख सकते हैं, 5 mark का क्या लिखोगे? What are you going to write for 5 marks and come over there? है ना, वो जैसे आगे in say 500 I'll teach you, there are 7 methods of obtaining audit evidence. उसमें उन्होंने वो 7 methods है ना, inquiry is one of the method of obtaining audit evidence, 5 marks. You understand? If you want to give you an example of CA final, so you have a chapter called as environmental audit. And one special assignments, you have one audit called as environmental audit. उसमें ना points है, areas to be covered in an environmental audit of an industrial unit. उसमें एक point है, EIA, Environment Impact Assessment Methodology. One exam question number 7, write short notes on EIA, Environment Impact Assessment Methodology. जो heading करके जाता है ना, उसका तो head ही उड़ जाता है. Heading करके जाने का नहीं. The trend of the exam is such nowadays. They are not asking wholesale questions. Like, you know, like this contents of engagement letter. That's why I happen to tell you. Contents of engagement letter, wholesale question. Now, whatever content you remember, you write. How they'll ask in the exam? When relevant, what are the additional matters to be put in the audit engagement letter? So when the question is asked in retail, you should know the points in detail. You understand now? So you have to go till the last bit of the answer. मतलब first you should know, एक दिमाग में layout होना चाहिए कि ये chapter में क्या क्या questions है. First thing, otherwise many a times वो भी layout नहीं रहता. Okay, so first thing you should know this chapter, what all questions are there. Then after that, second point, you know what are the headings, what are the contents. Third point, you also know regarding what is the masala which you have to write in the answer. है ना, ऐसे ऊपर ऊपर से सरफेस लेवल का पढ़ाई करके एक आधे भी लेवल पे नहीं रुकना है. Whatever you do it properly. यानी कि first you think about what is there in the chapter. Second, what are the headings. Third, do I have points to write under that heading? Go to that level. And then you go further.